pay their fair share. Here's an example of that choice. If you ask the top 1% to pay the same tax rate they paid in 2001 when George Bush was president, that would generate $13 billion a year. Now that's enough for us to take around 11 of that 13 billion and provide for 2 years of community college free for every student in America. So what's fair? Go from 36 to 39.6% like it used to be, and be able to take care of what's better. Just think about it in terms of what's better for America, not Democrat, Republican, individual. What's going to grow America more? What's going to grow America more? What's going to make us more competitive, stronger? What's going to make us better educated? So for folks at home, I'd like to ask a question. Do we want to give the wealthiest people in America another tax cut? Or do you want to give every high school graduate the ability to earn a community college degree on their way to good paying jobs or on the way to 4 years of school in industries of the future? Healthcare, IT, cybersecurity, you name it. Look, another example. For too long, we've had a two-tiered tax system. Working families pay taxes they owe on the wages they earn, while some of the wealthiest Americans avoid paying anything close to that fair share. My plan revitalizes and the capacity of the IRS to crack down on. There's a number of studies from the former Secretary of Treasury on that millionaires and billionaires are able to avoid taxes and cheat in avoiding those taxes because we have so few agents in the IRS. The consensus is if you increase the disclosure requirements for banks and financial institutions on accounts of the wealthiest Americans to reduce tax cheating, you will have two steps. Two steps would recover $70 billion per year that currently goes unreported and unpaid. Now, we've been hearing about this for the last 10 years. Instead of cutting the number of agents, we should be increasing the number of agents. Not hounding anyone, just being able to get access to information and shut down all the tax havens from the islands to, anyway, I won't go into it. I get a little carried away with this. But look, and we can take this money, and pay for universal pre-K for every 3 and 4 year old in America. So what is better? Making people just pay their fair share? Paid family leave, child care cost of working families, maximum of 7% of their income. Again, it's a choice. It's more important to shield millionaires from paying their fair share, or is it more important that every child gets a real opportunity to succeed from an early age and ease the burden on working families? Third, we have a loophole in our tax system called stepped-up basis. It's also known as a trust fund loophole. For example, if I had $1 million in stock that I bought and it made $1 million, and I was going to cash it in, I'd have to pay capital gain on that $1 million. But if God forbid, on the way, go back to where I was, on the way to where we're talking about, on the way to cash in my stock, I got hit by a car and got killed, I can leave it to my daughter and she pays no tax. A tax that was owed 2 seconds earlier. It's not an inheritance tax. It was a tax that was owed two seconds earlier. But that's what stepped-up basis means. It's a person passes away and leaves the stock in their son or daughter. Son or daughter don't have to pay anything on that multi-million-dollar gain when they sell that stock. And that's worth a lot of money. Look, it may be decent and honorable people, and they are. But the last thing Americans with the amount of wealth needs is another tax break. We need to make a choice of eliminate the loophole. Only the gains above people making $2 million a year, or excuse me, a couple. A rate of capital gains rate for people making more than $1 million a year, which, by the way, would affect 0.3% of all taxpayers. 0.3% of the top 1%. And close another loophole, like the real estate investor loophole. The wealthiest simply paying the same rate on their wages and investment income that raises $40 billion a year for the next 10 years. The reason I'm bothering to do this is I keep hearing on the press, Biden's going to raise your taxes. Anybody making less than $400,000 a year will not pay a single penny in taxes. And we will not increase the deficit either. unlike the last gigantic tax cut, which increased the deficit by $2 trillion. It's about balancing the system and growing the economy. It would mean wealthy investors no longer pay lower marginal tax rates than their secretary pays, their secretary in their office. Do you want to know what that would do? That would take that money and extend the life-changing middle-class tax cut and put it in place for American Rescue Plan and expand child care tax credit to, I mentioned earlier, that's $1,700 in the pockets of a family with 2 kids for now through 2025. Look, just closing these loopholes by taxing investment income at the same rate as wages for the wealthiest Americans would have enough to extend this again through 2025. So I ask again, is it more important to keep these tax loopholes for millionaires? They're good people, they're not bad folks. Or would we rather put $7,200 in the pockets of working moms and dads every year if they have 2 children? Folks, trickle-down economics has never worked. For too long, we've had an economy that gives every break in the world to the folks who need it the least. It's time to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. We can choose to give hard-working families a break, a tax break in effect. We can choose to invest in our students. We can choose an economy that rewards work, not just wealth, and that chooses the choice I'm making, and the vast majority of American people support, is let's give people a shot. Given even half a chance, the American people have never, ever, ever let their country down. Imagine if we give them a full chance. Imagine what it would mean for them and their families and for our country. We're the United States of America. There's nothing we've been unable to do when we do it together. So let's get together. Let's get this done. Because the truth of the matter is that we can do this and grow the economy. I won't go on all the other statistics, but the plan is estimated to grow the economy another $1 trillion. This will grow the economy. Everybody will be better off. So I want to thank you all for doing your part here to make sure that not only you're educating and giving people a real shot at a real life consistent with their talents and their capacities, not limited because they don't have the money. And we're going to give it to a lot more people. I promise you, America will be much stronger for it. Because like I said, we're setting out a universal education. It wouldn't just be 12 years anymore. It would be those 14 years, 16 years I'm talking about. 2 to start and 2 at the other end. And as your state has done under your governor and your senator and your congresspersons, your state, if you get 4 years out of here, 2 years out of here, it's 2 years toward a state university. You cut tuition in half for a 4-year degree as well. So there's an awful lot of possibilities, an awful lot of hope. And the good news is, I think there's overwhelming bipartisan support for this. If you look at the polling data, Republican voters overwhelmingly support it. Now I just got to get some of my Republican colleagues to support it. So thank you all. God bless you, and thank you for the work you're doing. And may God protect our troops. Thank you so much.
When do you believe the U.S. will reach herd immunity?
I think by the end of the summer, we'll be in a very different position than we are now. As you know, I've worked very hard to make sure we have over 600 million doses of vaccine. We're going to continue to make sure that's available. We're going to increase that number across the board as well, so we can also be helping other nations once we take care of all Americans. And what's happening now is all the talk about how people were not going to get shots, they were not going to be involved. Look at what that was. We were told that was most likely to be among people over 65 years of age. But now, people over 65 years of age, over 80%, have now been vaccinated, and 66% fully vaccinated. And there's virtually no difference between white, black, Hispanic, Asian American. And so, because what we've done, under some criticism, is we have expanded access to vaccinations to familiar places, 40,000 drugstores now, also all of the community health centers that are available all across the nation, mobile units going out, and it's getting better and better and better. And so that's why we're leading the world. When I got elected, I said in the first 100 days, we'd get 100 million people vaccinated. I was wrong. We got 230 million vaccinated. I think you'll see, and there's a debate, and I'll end with this. There's a debate into what constitutes herd immunity. Is it 70% of the population? Is it 68%? Is it 81%? The point is that by the end of the summer, right now, every single person, 16 years or older, doesn't have to wait in line, can show up and get a vaccination now. My plea to everyone, get vaccinated now, please. Thank you.
We're going to hold right here just for a minute. Local press, we're going to have you stay, and school.